Is this the first gathering tribal quests tribe that they did? I think Stormblood just had one crafting. I think all ARR Heaven's Ward and Stormblood all had just one crafter, and the rest of them were combat. Anyway, let's get on with this next Qitari tribal quest. Talk to Chakar Katal. Wisdom of the Night. Chakar Katal's eyes eagerly dart around the caves of Hoptel's Stoppel. I don't know, that's not how you pronounce any of this, but whatever. Good sir. It was sir, wasn't it? Mother tells me you've been working your tail off around the stopple. Is this... Oh, yeah, it's stopple. Okay. Around the stopple. Is that why I can't see your tail, perhaps? Anyhow, thanks to you, Father says that we're ready to begin excavation. Isn't that all so exciting? Chikaro, we must remember to remain calm and composed. These caves are vast, their tunnels burrowing deep into the bowels of the land. Slow, steady, and circumspect is the order of the day. As we speak, a preliminary exploration team is surveying the tunnels to determine where we might best begin excavation. We will await their findings before deciding on the best way to move forward. Understood, Father. I promised to be circumspect. Does that mean we can begin digging already? No, it doesn't. Tuaro Manal, what news from the depths? Digmaster Qitari, I fear we encountered something rather unexpected. I fear that we may not be able to commence the excavation efforts as quickly as we had hoped. We can't start digging? But why? What did you find down there? No sooner had we stepped through the entrance, our whiskers twitching in anticipation of the wonders that awaited, than did we see them, nasty creatures swarming in every nook and cranny of the caves. A most troubling development indeed. We Qitari are scribes, not warriors. Indeed, it was the presence of fearsome fiends, and worse, blocking our way through the Raval that kept us trapped for 100 years. Are we doomed to suffer a similar fate here? I did defeat a Light Warden, you know. So I can do more than just gather things. The ally of Ronka and the bringer of night would fell these terrible beasts for us? I would like little more than to take advantage of your kindness, but I fear there is a rub. A rub? A rub. In our preliminary explorations of the stopple, we had discovered that another ward seals off the tunnels below. A ward not unlike the one that barred the entrance, but with one notable and unfortunate difference. It is a ward impassable to all but the servants of Dalon, namely the Qitari. No, I fear we will have to find our own way to dispatch these beasts that have burrowed their way up from the depths. But without Sir Madam Beryllian's aid, we'll be chewed up the moment we step in there, tails and whiskers and all. The great serpent, it speaks. Indeed, and yet it does not move. Till now, we have had only to follow where it goes. This time, it appears we must fully grasp the import of his message. A message which, sadly, is beyond my comprehension. If only there were someone who... But of course, the son of Dwaddle. The son of... You mean that tall fellow who likes to wave his arms in the air when he talks? Yes, the very same. Him. Brilliant. It appears we will require your assistance once more. Might you be so kind as to see my boy safely to Slitherbow, that he might summon this Quinfort for us? Would you be so kindly brilliant? Father and I appreciate it ever so muchly and more. Now come along, great serpent. Okay, we got ourselves an escort mission or something. I thought these were supposed to be gathering quests. I'm sure he's gonna, like, ask us to do something. Alright, Quinfort, let's see what the great serpent of Rak'tika has to say. The Qitari boy told me you came seeking Quinfort's counsel. Are you sure you're feeling quite okay, Brilliant? Slitherbow is full of tunnels, too. Father wasn't waiting for us back at the stopple. I'd love to go digging and delving here, too. What's this you say? Fell beasts prowl the tunnels at every turn. No doubt there are remnants of the shadows that wander the forests come to life. Demons come to suck dry the currents of ether that give the great wood life, reducing our home to a withered husk. That could be it, or they could simply be nasty little brutes that crawled their way up from between the rocks. You know, like the little one, like the ones around here. Valen, my good sir madam, you know of these creatures too? I do. Mother tells me that when our ancestors first came to Slitherbow, they were set upon by a swarm of ravenous creatures that crawled up from below. Fortunately, one of the elder priests managed to utter an incantation that drove them away. If you look closely at the walls around us, you can see glyphs carved in them. The same protective magic that saved our forefathers then has been worked into the very walls around us. In a sense, the settlement of Slitherbow itself serves as a ward against the dangers that lurk beneath us. Just so, Valen, and it is precisely wards and incantations of this sort that I have made the focus of my studies of late. I remain ever impressed with your knowledge, my good sir madams. Might it be too much to ask if you could teach this incantation to the great serpent, that he might protect us in our expedition below? Agree? What? What blasphemy do you speak, child? Do you think me, a humble servant of the wood, so brazen as to believe he could enlighten the divine protector itself? Look, this isn't exactly my area of expertise, but it strikes me that there might be a simpler way to approach this. Why don't we simply fashion a talisman or two for them? You know, like the ones we've always used to keep danger at bay. I can craft a simple object to serve as the vessel. Then Quinfort can mutter a few words and enchant it as he sees fit. Tradition dictates that the talisman be fashioned from materials indelibly, whatever, connected to the bearer's home. Those of us who live in Slitherbow usually gather what we need from the Cheetah swamps? Sure. But for our Qitari friends, we have to look further east. Brilliant, your knowledge of trees and shrubs might serve us well here. Why don't you head over to Majural's Great Regret and see if you can't find us a spectral cocoon. It's a casing of spun silk that we often carry around to ward off danger. And I shall immediately begin weaving an incantation especially tailored to protect our good friends from the sort of terrifying creatures that infest the caves and tunnels they seek to explore. Mwahaha! A foolproof plan if ever there was one. Chakurl, you can stay here with me in Slitherbow and help me collect the other materials I need. It'll be a perfect opportunity to introduce you to my fellow blessed. Once we have everything we need, let's meet up again in Hoppelstapel. I wanted to test the effectiveness of the talisman for myself before we leave Jakar and his friends on their own. Alright, let's go collect the, item we need. Looks like it's down south. Also, I need to actually go out the exit. Wonder if this would have had different dialogue if I was a miner. Or a fish. Or fisher. Fisherman? Sure. Fisherwoman, please. Let's see, I need some sort of cocoon, right? It's a spectral cocoon. Yep, let's get one. It's only one? Oh, in ARR, earlier I said that they hadn't done any gatherer tribes, but the, Ixtal, or Ixali, whatever they're called, had, crafting and gathering. Anyway, hey Valen, I got the stuff. I got the spectral cocoon you needed. Oh, there you are. Were you able to find something suitable for making our talisman? Yep, got what you asked for. Why yes, this should serve us quite well. Just give me a moment or two. I'll round up the materials Jakarl and I gathered from the village, and whip up something in no time. Just add a feather here, here, and here, then thread through this length of rope, and yes, this should do it. Crafter sound. Looks a bit like an evil eye, except it's like a solid. It's beautiful. And this lets us get through the X-vacation in safety, you say? Not so fast. The talisman needs to be enchanted before it's of any use. As it is now, it is little more than a fancy little ornament. Well, Quinfort, this is the moment you've been waiting for, isn't it? Mwahaha! Say no more. Stand back and bear witness to as Quinfort, descendant of Dwaddle, weaves an incantation the likes of which your eyes have never seen. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Worry not, dear Valin. In truth, at first I was uncertain which of the many prayers I have memorized would serve us best. A traditional chant of the Knights Blessed? But wait, the Qitari are an ancient race, so perhaps this calls for an incantation from ancient Rak'tika. Long did I ponder, choose poorly, after all, and it could mean death and destruction for our friends, if not for the forest itself. Fortunately, it was then that the great serpent came to me in a vision, enlightening me as the precise words that will deliver us to salvation, words which have long been writ in the gospel of Quinfort. You're going to enchant this talisman with the ramblings from your dream diary? Now I really have a bad feeling about this. Oh no. What's it gonna be? Don't be silly, Valen. The great serpent speaks through me, and I am but a vessel for his divine wisdom. Hark! It is precisely as it says in chapter 52, verse 5. The goddess crawls, stained cerulean. She did await the arrival of the Stuarts. The coming of the darkness marked a new dawn. A proud people returned to the wood where the egg once fell from high above. What? O great serpent of Ronka, gifted us by the heavens, hear the plea of the great sage's scion, and guide the children of Ronka safely to their ancestral home. Oh, great serpent, do tell me, were my prayers heard? Every time it does the scream. Why, I never heard an incantation so inspiring. Your powers truly are something else, Master Quinfort. Oh, you are wise beyond your years, my young Qitari friend. My knowledge is vast, my powers indeed whatever. Prodigies. Sure, prodigious. And it is more than an honor to wield them in service of your esteemed people. Though he's prone to bouts of madness from time to time, Quinfort is an accomplished priest. The talisman should serve you well. Splendid! Our excavation effort has already been delayed for far longer than we can afford. Well, Jakarl, this is the moment of truth. There is no telling what dangers lurk beneath us. Are you quite certain you wish to accompany me in the tunnels below? But of course, Father. Why else would I have come to this place with you? Together we will unearth the secrets of our far furthers and reclaim our history. Very well. It is clear you do not take the task lightly. Perhaps you are coming of age after all. And with that, I believe it's time when we started digging. Let the excavation begin. That didn't sound like a shallow well. Sometime later. He's got a helmet on. Qitari Natal and Jakarl Kodal have safely returned from their preliminary investigations of the tunnels. Yet more manifestations of the Great Serpent. Whatever have we done to deserve such a blessing? Well, Jakarl, were you able to find any of the tablets you were searching for? The Great Serpent wriggles about and lets out a clear clarion call. It would seem that it wishes to aid Qitari in their efforts to reclaim their history. Well now, what have we here? What is this? Another incarnation of the Great Serpent made manifest before us? Whatever could be the meaning of this? I must know at once. If you could settle down for just a moment, Master Quinfort, I will explain in detail all I witnessed below. Father and I found a stone. It was big and square and covered in all sorts of writings, just like in the legends. As my voice says, we did indeed find a stele, or at least one piece of them. What remains? According to Qitari legend, the stele comprised four perfectly square stones stacked to form a massive pillar, which is to say, what we have found is but one part of the larger whole. And if that were not unfortunate enough, even the single stela we found has been badly weathered through the years. In many places, the engravings are all but indecipherable. That's not all we found. Lying beside the shattered stone were several sad piles of bones. No doubt the remains of our once proud forefathers who carried the stele down below. I shudder to think of their last moments, torn apart by sin-eaters as they hid away our legacy for safekeeping. Father and I thought to carry the stone to the surface, but in that moment, something jumped out and stood in our path. Are mine eyes to be believed? The beheaded serpent of the first accompanied our Qitari friends remains on the surface, which means we are graced by yet another incantation of the divine protector. A third manifestation of the great serpent? Just how many of them are there, anyway? At the very least, this is the only one we encountered in our expedition, and yet, if it traveled here from somewhere to guide us in our efforts, it would not be unreasonable to assume that there are others where this one came from. In truth, it appeared and spoke to us just as we stood before the shattered stone. I cannot help but believe it was conveying to us a message, just as its brethren guided us to these ancient tunnels. Carl and I pondered the matter, and we believe that we understand. The great serpent bids us to unearth the remains of the scattered and weathered steel, and piece together our people's history anew with our own hands and minds. I see. If the stones truly have been scattered and weathered by the time, that's the best you could hope to do. Yet surely you must have been able to make something from what remained of the stone. What chronicles of Eld were writ there? Ahem. What we were able to make of the carvings could be described thus. A mighty Ronso wearing a crown, no doubt meant to represent the first emperor of Ronka, stood tall with a blade raised high over his head. Before him cowered a Qitari, one of our forefathers, no doubt. The carving would seem to depict the momentous occasion that was the first encounter between our people and the Empire. And the implications could not be more clear. Doubtless, our ancestors, ill-suited for battle, were conquered and subjugated by the might of Ronka, under whose yoke they would find new purpose as the stewards of history. A most fascinating interpretation, Father, but if I might be so bold, I saw the drawings quite different. I do not believe the Ronkan Empire would be so cruel as to threaten the poor weak Qitari. No, I believe that he found us vulnerable and at the mercy of the fearsome beasts of the forest. He slew the beasts by his own hand, and befriended our ancestors, giving us new purpose as his subjects. Your optimism is admirable, my boy, but I fear that such a bright and cheery interpretation of events is unlikely at best. History is full of harsh truths from which we must not avert our eyes. But tales are still sung of the first emperor's might and majesty to this day, are they not? I simply cannot fathom that he would be so cruel as to enslave our people. If you ask me, both theories seem reasonable, but if you intend to keep a record of history to pass down to posterity, you're going to have to choose one. Two conflicting theories of the past, one to be etched in stone and sung until the end of time, and the other destined to be consigned to the dust of the deep, dank caverns below. Truly, this is a turning point in the grand tapestry that is the history of the Qitari. Yes, at any rate, I believe we've done all we can here. Valen, I say, Valen! Have you no interest in witnessing this momentous occasion in history? I would not think of insisting that my interpretation is the only valid one, and yet I cannot simply toss it aside in favor of my son's rose-colored view of the past. How positively, absentatively vexing. Speak! The great serpent! It speaks again! It does, and this time its message could not be more clear. It believes that Beryllion, the ally of Ronka, should be the one to weigh the options at hand and decide which version of history shall be inscribed upon the stone. That's right. There was a short thing about whichever one you choose changes how the camp develops. Qitari father and son have arrived at conflicting interpretations of the events depicted on the stela. At the bidding of the great serpent of Ronka, it has fallen to you to determine which version of history will be recorded. In order to continue the Qitari quests, speak with either Qitari Natal or Chakar Natal, and choose the interpretation of history that you find most convincing. Your choice will affect not only the restoration of the stela, but history as it will be told for years to come. Once you make this choice, you will be unable to go back, so choose carefully. Furthermore, yet another serpent clad in curious armor has arrived at the Qitari camp. I will look up and see what the two differences are. You achieve trusted reputation with the stewards. And now we got more rewards. Let's check out what they are. But first, let me look up what the differences between these two are. There it is. During the tribal main quests, the player will have the option to agree with one of two NPCs at several points. These choices will affect the way in which the quests unfold and the appearance of the tribal settlement. These choices do not affect rewards earned. Alright, so are we going to be pessimists or optimists here? So if I think about... I don't remember much of the history of Ronka. I'd say in general, they were positive, but then again, they're the ones that wrote the history books. So they're gonna say that they were good no matter what. I think we'll go positive for either this one or all of them. Father may have his reasons for thinking as he does, but I choose to believe in a brighter version of history. Yes, I am quite certain that the Ronkan Emperor was a benevolent man who protected our ancestors from fearsome beasts and bestowed upon them a position of honor in their society. Surely you can agree. You would like to vouch for Chakar Caudle's theory. The first stela will be restored to reflect his interpretation of history. Proceed and you will be unable to view the stela as Qitari Natal as envisions it. The rewards you receive and the content quests to follow will be the same regardless of the choices you make. Then what's the point? You are free to choose the version of history you find more compelling. Let's be positive. Oh, thank you. I am most glad to know that you are a cup half full type like myself. Well, not really, but I'm just gonna go with it. The first stela of Ronkan benevolence. Chakar Caudle would convince you that the merits of his theory regarding the Ronkan protection of the Qitari. I cannot help but feel my boy is too optimistic for his own good, and yet, if you would choose to believe this theory, good madam, there is no reason why I cannot do the same. At long last, I can look upon the history of my people in all its glory, but our work is far from over. Pray continue to lend us your aid. Father and I will send for our finest artisans. The work must begin at once. The first stela has been restored. Its engravings now clearly reflect Chakar Caudle's theory of Ronkin beneficence. Sure. Protected by the talisman fashioned for them by the Knights Blessed, and heartened by rediscovering a piece of their heritage, the stewards now pursue their excavation efforts with newfound zeal. Should you choose to continue to aid them in their cause? Cool. Let's see what new reward we got. I don't. It'll probably be another. Cool. We get the hard hat serpent.